the man cave, baby. Topics about to be hot. Dave Shug and the fellas about to stir up the pot. Hot topics, put your mind at ease. We talking about everything, especially the shit that you need in our community. Never miss a show that we truancy. We all got opinions on the show, I be doing me. Playing with the sports, real topics with real men. Welcome to the man cave, step right in.
Welcome all to the Man Cave. You are in here for this special edition. It's always a special edition when we in here. Of course, riding right by my side, as always, main man Suge in the building.
Peace and love, everybody. Happy Monday, man. Welcome to the Man Cave.
Yeah.
This is going to be a legendary show, bro.
What's up? I just heard from Wayne. All right, we good now.
Bet.
I was worried, Wayne. Games with me
That's
like
your
that,
phone, man. Look at the group text, man.
Well, look, we be putting out the events, right?
Yeah.
And, sometimes people see the events and, they might try to make their way out here. Listen, those events, guys, are just for you to watch.
Watch parties.
They're not for you to show up to the studio. They're just, so we had a guy who showed up to the studio. So, see, we said, why not? We're going to put him on. What's up, Sammy?
What's up, man? Welcome to the Man Cave, bro.
Blessing. Honor to be amongst kings.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sammy put on his Sunday's best
Coming out. He said he's coming to an event.
To support our special and honored guest,
Absolutely.
writer, filmmaker, producer, SMU grad, the man himself, Mr. Arthur Jordan Muhammed.
Hey!
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, good to be here. Thank you for having me, bro.
Man.
Legend, you know what I'm saying? Internationally known, local respected. You know what I'm saying? He in the building, bro.
Hey, look, Suge, man, put this together. I'm glad he got you out here. I did my little digging about you to try to figure out what we can talk about here today. And we have so much.
Yeah, a lot.
So many bases we can cover with you. So, first of all, I want to thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, bro.
So, you graduated from Southern Methodist University?
Yeah, actually just recently.
Okay, I saw that.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So, what did you study there?
Film and media.
Okay, and that's how you got in. Of course, you were already into it. You just went to
right.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, actually, what happened was after I did the film Carter High, they sent the football team out to watch the movie and everything. See, I left SMU after I tore my ACL and got into it with the coach.
Oh, okay.
Back in 1991, 92.
Oh.
So I was like, I'm out of here. I didn't have the same type of
mentality
that I have now. So left, but I just continued to do film and kept doing movies, kept doing my thing. And after I did Carter, they got wind of it, had me come teach a couple of classes, speak on a couple of classes, and offered me the opportunity to come back and finish up,
That's what's up, man. Hey, that's a blessing, man. It's amazing how things work out, huh?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead, Suge? I know you got some things you want to
add.
add.
Let's talk about, how did you decide to get started in film? What was your inspiration to be like, I want to become a film director, producer?
Man, growing up in Oak Cliff, that especially the end, that wasn't really no.
Shouts to Oak Cliff.
Oak Cliff.
That one, you didn't have no aspirations of really doing that. I didn't know that you could do that.
Right.
But I remember being in elementary school and we had to do a little project with what you call like a little stormtrooper. I used a stormtrooper, but it was like a little not animated, but like a little action figure, right? And you had to make it move, take a picture, make it move, take a picture. And when you took it through the projector, it made it look like it was moving.
I remember.
And I just always remember being like, wow, that was like, I did that,
Right.
And that's about the only thing I remember as far as elementary school, but that always stayed with me. And at Carter, I worked at a movie theater, Redbird Cinema 1 through 4. And that's when I really started looking at, I watched Do the Right Thing. That's when Do the Right Thing came out, Spike
Lee, baby.
And I watched the movie, sorry, Spike, but free for about 20 or 30 times because I was working there.
Yeah.
And just watching that movie over and over and over again.
Right.
Man, I'm like...
Hey, before we go on, You mentioned going to Dallas Carter, and I do want to talk about the movie. But hey, Kenny, we got the phone number up, guys? If you guys want to call in and ask Mr. Muhammad any questions that you have on the film industry, the phone number is 203-802-KMWI. Once again, that's 203-802-5694. If you guys want to call in. Now, you mentioned going to Carter, but you actually played for them too.
Right,
well,
yeah. I actually played for Carter. So that's, during the time, if you ever saw the movie Friday Night Lights, I was on that
Right.
team that won state.
Dang.
that year.
Okay.
So when you think back to when you made this movie, not only did you have the backstory of it and all the facts, but you also had a personal connection to it as well.
Most definitely.
So you were what grade? How old were you when this all started?
I was a junior that year. When
What was this,
everything happened.
88?
This was 88, 89.
Okay.
Trying to put man's age out there, man.
I mean, hey, look, look, this the man cave. You already know how we go. We gonna get in your business. Okay,
Yeah.
so going through that, you probably knew a lot of those guys.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
Keith Campbell, the one that was considered the ringleader,
Right.
we lived in the same neighborhood.
Right,
we,
exactly.
We raced pole to pole, played throw up tackle, football, trying to avoid the sticker bushes. That was like us. So yeah, Nintendo days.
Yeah.
Right. So
Take it way back.
so this movie would definitely pass the test of the people that were actually lived it.
Oh, most
because
definitely.
you made it, right? So because I watched the movie and I won't lie to you, it was inspirational and touching at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember the couple of the first documentaries that were done on it, and I watched them, and you still had a little teeny bit of the over dramatizing of what happened, and I think what was it called? It was called it was one documentary.
ESPN 30 for 30.
Yeah. What was the quote?
Oh, the chant.
No, I know what the chant was. I know what the chant was. No, it was something. That movie was it was called something. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But for me, how was it for you working with a star-studded cast like that, though?
And coming out of Dallas, especially,
Right.
because that's really almost unheard of unless you're going to Hollywood.
Right, and the funny thing is, a lot of people still to this day don't believe we shot the movie in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I saw the car wash.
Right, but a lot of people don't. But it was real good, to work with, Charles Dutton, Vivica Fox, David Banner, all are professionals.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from Charles Dutton, and all of them, but really Charles Dutton I really learned a
So
lot.
is he real? I would think if I walked up to him, he would just be rock. But I'm sure he's like totally different than that.
Oh, totally different.
Exactly. But what kind of a person is he? Because I know he's a philanthropist. He's out there. He's trying to make things happen all the time. So as far as an actor, is he a method actor or?
I wouldn't say he's a method actor, because a good thing when he first got there, I wanted him to meet the real Coach James. And
Right.
so they was on set, but he didn't want to meet him before that time. So they actually met the day when he got there, because what he didn't want to do is try to imitate him.
Right.
So I thought that, just me alone, I was thinking, let me get them together as soon as possible. But he didn't want to go that route with it. He wanted to meet him when he got there, but he wanted to, bring out his own version of Coach James, which worked.
I liked his version.
Right.
It was tight. Brother, I just want to say for one thing, man, just from the bottom of my heart, I'm proud of you.
Man,
Yeah,
thank you.
this is-
Appreciate it, brother.
This is amazing. Not only Carter, but we have First Impression, which is also on Netflix. Death Do Us Part, which is starring Marquise Houston was in it.
Well, he wrote it.
He
Marquise
wrote it.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, you got a couple documentaries out there, right?
Right.
Okay.
Let's talk about first impressions, because honestly, the way I felt about that film when I saw it was it kind of gave me like a Love Jones type of feel
That's
to it,
what- yeah.
and it didn't. And I haven't seen a lot of films that kind of make me feel the way that Love Jones kind of made me feel until I saw First Impressions.
Well, shout out to Shutter Speed Film Festival.
Shutter Speed Film Festival in the building.
Actually, we had a premiere of it at the Shutter Speed Film Festival.
Yeah.
And literally right after that, it kind of, it went to BET and then it went to Netflix. And so
There you go.
That's what's up, man.
So it's possible that somebody from the inner city and maybe like a small town or something like that can actually take things to a Hollywood status, doing it locally.
Right. We actually shot First Impression in Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the thing about it, I shot First Impression before Carter. A lot of people don't know that, but Carter came out
Yeah.
before First Impression.
And the name of your production company is Sweet Chariot Productions.
Yeah, we transitioning into AM Film Studios, but everything was Sweet Chariot.
Let me ask you a couple questions for the people out there, as far as trying to break into acting and things like that. Do you feel that there is
That's Detroit calling in, everybody. So
do you feel that there
should have brought his ass in here today.
right? You should have been in here, Detroit. Everybody called me now, but do you feel that places like John Casablanca and a lot of these model agencies and things like that who casting call places, are those places worth the buck, or is it something that you should really just put your own grind in and knock on your own doors?
I say put your own grind in. I mean, just based on the technology right now, and everybody's making a movie now in Dallas. I mean, that's a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. But it's an opportunity, if you're serious about the craft, to get in front of a camera, go to these casting calls and get out there and try to make it happen. But it's a lot of people trying to go to the KD studios,
Right.
and they kind of pick and choose, who they want. But after a while, if you keep doing the work, you won't have to go to them. They will come to you. So
Exactly. I was wondering.
But nowadays, it seems like, when you think about films, you think about budget. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of discouraging factors for people that are in, like, just starting out is like, how do you come up with this big budget to kind of shoot these films? Sometimes you look at these films costing like $120 million and stuff like that. So is it easy to get investors involved into these films? Like, what do you think is the best approach?
well, the number one approach is not to be looking at the $120 million. You gotta look at the $1,200.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, 2005. I mean, I shot my first film, Solitaire, on film, on 16 millimeter film for $6,000.
Damn.
I mean, and that's a feature film on film,
Yeah.
not digital.
Right.
Yeah.
So for $6,000, so it's about learning the craft and trying to have a compelling story to tell.
Right.
Everybody got that story that you can tell. So you got people making movies with cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, like real movies.
Yeah.
Right,
So
true that. So how was it working with Greg Ellis?
it was good. Greg, he's a football player.
Right.
So he's not, but he did study film in North Carolina.
Right.
So that was really good. And
I just thought that it was pretty interesting that he was there as the executive. I was just thought, okay, I had no clue that he was even going that route. You know what I'm saying? So that's cool. So Pooch Hall.
Oh, Pooch Hall, real cool.
Hey, we got to call in. Let's see what's up.
Hey, let's grab this call real quick.
Brittany, what's up?
All right, you on with the Man Cave? I can help you.
Yeah, I had a question for Jordan Muhammed. Can you ask me how hard is it to get distribution?
Tell Tony Morgan.
I'm sorry. Say it one more time, sweetheart.
I had a question for Jordan Muhammed on the podcast.
Okay, go ahead. He can hear you.
Oh, I wanted to know how hard is it to get distribution for film?
Okay,
Get your film distributed.
what's your name, sweetheart?
And Fatima.
Fatima. Okay, she wanted to know how hard it is to get distribution.
Well, for me, it haven't been that hard, but it is
You're a
very.
legend, you know what I mean? So, of course,
I mean,
you just show up.
This is just real talk.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
one,
right.
the man cave,
Yeah,
right?
It's the man cave, baby.
So my first film, Solitaire, that I was telling you about, I got distribution through Maverick Entertainment back in 2005. And that's back, I would say, the renaissance of the small black independent hood films. Maverick was putting all those films out. And that was my first one. And then I did Black Angels, which Wells Go distributed.
Right.
And actually, Maverick is picking that back up and releasing it, I believe, this month under Sweet Justice. That's gonna be, which was the original name of that movie. And then Carter and First Impression. So all my films, praise God, has had the,
You obviously-
got distribution.
You're doing good work.
Which a lot of filmmakers don't, do that. But it is difficult to get, distribution, especially when you start, talking about the theatrical releases. Even Master P was recently talking about how hard it was to get his film,
Right.
released. So
I got the hookup.
I got the hookup too.
The two is just came out. They said it's pretty okay. So
Sammy, like, how has Arthur influenced you into? Because you just recently released Quintessential, the movie, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell us about that process, like how you guys linked up.
Well, the interesting part, I call him Arthur just gives nothing but opportunity.
Right.
Because true story,
I believe it.
I just had a bunch of guys I was coaching, and I got word on the street that they needed. They didn't even say who they was.
Yeah.
They just said they needed extras. And I'm coaching basketball guys. So I'm like, okay, well, for a high school scene, they like, yeah. I'm like, well, I got about 15, 8 feet tall dudes, young right now. Let's go up there.
Yeah.
So I hit them up. Hey, I'm coming through, bringing some guys with me. Cool.
Yeah.
So we get on set. I'm thinking it could be an old man with a little camera rolling on the chair.
Yeah.
When I tell you this man had a real film set, I'm talking, there's more people standing on the side doing jobs than physically acting.
Yeah.
And I was just mind blown.
Yeah,
Like,
legit,
wow.
man.
Yeah.
Right, like in Dallas.
Definitely.
And then from there, just pretty much, he's been such an influence on me, gave me that opportunity. And just being around him all the years and the growth, and even being here on the show,
Yeah.
in honor of the man.
Yeah.
He's been
That's
a
what's up.
legit guy
Yeah.
for us
That's what's up.
as a filmmaker.
So, Arthur, I'd like to ask you this. A lot of people out there are interested in this business. When you go into your creative process when it comes to writing a film, can you give me a small diagnosis of how you would do it, from your bread to your internal meat of the sandwich to the bottom end? Like, how do you, like, because some of these movies, you see them and they go back and forth and they jump this way and that way, and, even like Carter, that jumps forward, jumps back. It's like, how do you write that
The film sequencing.
and then make it all,
Well, the way I do it and the way I learn how to do it is, first you put all your scenes on. First you have your story that you want to tell.
You gotta have a story first.
Right.
Okay.
And don't worry about the dialogue. Just worry about the scenes. I wanted to start here. I want my next scene to go here. So you 1 note card, 2 note cards, until you have your whole movie done.
Right.
Just on note cards. That way you can look at them and be able to rearrange them. Well, I can have this scene come here. I can have this scene go here. I can change this before you start worrying about the dialogue. And this is writing inside out. A lot of people, they don't understand that method, and they just start trying to
Right.
Dialogue.
yeah, and people say they get writer's block and they get stuck and this and that. Well, that's because you didn't write inside out.
Right.
And even if once you write it inside out, the writing part still may take some time, but you have a blueprint now to go
Yeah,
by.
it's easier.
Right, a lot easier. And I always say complete it. A lot of people get to the point where you start trying to rewrite before you finish writing. Finish the script first. After you finish the script, then if you want to go back and rewrite, do that then.
He just dropped some gems for y'all, so I hope y'all are really paying attention, especially you guys are into
That's
that
straight
type of
up.
art. Those are gems, like.
Yeah.
But also, like, in terms of the behind the scenes part, you know what I'm saying? That's like a major part of the filmmaking, right? So how do you go about like choosing, like, okay, we need sound, we need somebody who controls the camera, somebody who's doing that. Is that like something that goes into like the pre-production? Like how do you go about selecting that?
Oh yeah, pre-production. I have the 7 P's of production.
Okay.
Proper production prevents piss poor production. Pre-proper planning. I'm sorry, pre-proper planning prevents piss poor production.
Yeah.
It all goes into pre-production.
Yeah.
You know, so in knowing exactly what you want, how you want it, of course you know you need your video, but a lot of times we lack on sound. I tell like the younger independent filmmakers with Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, we've gotten used to looking at things that don't look so
It's not
good.
quality.
Yeah.
But if we can't hear it, it's like you go right by it. So I said, if anything, focus on your sound. Make sure that your audience at least can hear what they're saying, because they will forgive you on the the video side of it.
Dang. Okay.
I can understand
You
that.
know what I'm saying? We had
I'm
a
gonna let Suge get his questions out. Go
we
ahead.
had a guy down here last week. What's the guy's name? The saxophone
Oh,
player?
yeah.
Yeah, he went to Carter High, and I asked him like, it's amazing how that film affects Dallas. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how. I mean,
It does.
And like a lot of people in Dallas, but they never get to see like who was behind the scenes, like putting the whole piece together. And you're dropping the gems on them right now, so I think they're really going to appreciate that. You know what I mean?
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Carter. You know, that's the movie of the hour right now. You know, I watched it. I think my biggest surprise in the whole movie was David Banner.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
David Banner.
It was my biggest surprise in the whole movie, just the way he carried himself. I mean, we all know he's an intelligent cat.
Very.
You know, very, very outspoken, intelligent. So I think making him, putting him where he was, and I'm not going to give it all out. Go watch it on Netflix. Putting him where he was like a perfect place for him to be. You know, did you have him in mind for that role initially?
I think initially Kelly, one of our producers, may have mentioned David Banner, and then when I looked at him, before I even knew he can really do the role, I knew he was a rapper.
Yeah.
So I was like, David Banner. But he looked like Royce West. He could fit.
I don't think she was talking about him though.
Huh?
She wasn't. She was saying David Bennett.
Oh, this guy.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. No, but go ahead, man.
We're gonna put you in the series.
Hey, they always said I could play Lucius younger brother.
Yeah.
In the Empire, whatever that is. Yeah, that's who they say I look like anyway.
But the backstory with
Yeah,
that. So
go
check
ahead.
this out. We actually reached out to David Banner, right? So, for that role, he really wanted to do that role because he played an attorney, which
Yeah.
is something that
Yeah.
you would expect for him to play.
Yep.
So when we reached out to him, we was trying to get in contact with him and let him realize who Royce West was and let him know it's a true story, this and that. This is the kicker.
Yeah.
He actually went to school with Royce West's son.
Damn.
They was roommates.
Wow.
Meant to be.
Yeah,
It was meant to be.
Meant
So
to be.
that was like, it was crazy, man. When we found that out, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
So he came in and knocked it out. And just to tell you one little quick story, man, with David, and shout out to David Banner.
Shouts to David Banner, definitely.
Courtroom scene, man, it was a long little monologue that he had. And so after a few takes, it was a little struggle. So I always thought, because I'm always looking at the time, like, okay,
Right.
maybe I can shoot it this way and, just to make it go by faster and do this and do that. I said, David, let's do it this way. Just give me a few minutes. He took, man, a few minutes, bruh, and came back and was like, knocked it out. I'm talking about like literally he just needed to internalize it, but when he did, it was a wrap. So just giving him that time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how is it working with Netflix as opposed to other, it seems like, HBO or BET, is there a difference?
Well, I don't have a direct connect. My distributor that I go through actually, connects with Netflix. So he deals directly with them.
Right.
But Netflix gives a little bit more money than like a HBO or Showtime or Cinemax.
Right.
But it's so many different ways you can work with Netflix. Number one, how I have worked with them, you have a completed film, you have a distributor, they go to Netflix, and if they want the film, they pick it up, they pay you, you get a licensing fee, and it's usually, my films have been for 3 years. So basically, after 3 years, you get them back, and then you can license it again. One thing which is Tyler Perry has been talking about is ownership. So that's still
Right.
owning your product, but
Right.
you license it to Netflix. You do the same thing with HBO. What Netflix does, though, internally more or less, they have a system where they give certain budgets for Netflix original movies,
Right.
and that's a whole different.
That's a whole different. But
Yeah.
that's where you want to be.
That's where you wanna be.
essentially, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So when you're working to put your film out there, and you want to actually get your film in Netflix hand or HBO hand, the best way to do it is to actually find somebody to distribute it.
Oh yeah, you
that's the
either
best
have a
one.
distributor or a sales rep.
You can't go knock on somebody's door.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get to that point where I can, you know,
Right.
in a sense, I think the more films I have on there associated with, you know, I probably can go through maybe an agent versus a distributor who wants 20-25%. Whereas like my agent, when First Impression went to BET, he only get 10%.
And you had a lot of homegrown talent in that movie. I'm not
Oh.
going to say local because,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. But you had a lot of homegrown talent in that particular one, correct?
Yes, sir.
But also Carter, too, as
Yeah.
well, right? Okay. Yeah, and that was, of course, it was shot right here. So, how
Which I love that. Not to
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
jump on you,
No,
but
no, you
to
fine.
give people
your
like that
interview.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely,
saying?
definitely. That's what I wanted to try to get at. It's like, so how do you go through the process of doing that? Like, you're obviously picking these guys from casting calls, correct?
Right.
How do people know when a casting call is happening?
Most of the time, I'll post it. Sometimes, I mean, now since I've worked with so many people, I kind of know who I want to play, who
Okay.
want to play certain roles. So I reach out directly to them. But one thing I try to explain to actors, even some of these budgets they may appear to be big.
Yeah.
These are still small budgeted films. But what I try to offer them is an opportunity to look. I probably can't pay you that much, but what I will be able to do is get this distributed, and people will be able to see you. You know, so it's like that's what I try to offer you. You know, I'll make sure
Right.
you get fed, that type of thing.
I
But
said you gotta eat on this stuff.
Nothing wrong with that. So, as far as like acting classes and things that people can do to sharpen up their skills to be better actors, and like, what do you suggest for them?
acting classes, but also get into theater.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of people doing plays and that type of
I
thing.
mean, you the Tyler Perry of this era. I mean, of this area, correct?
Not-
Almost.
Well,
He the Spike Lee.
Spike
I
Lee.
would give him the
I mean, just the big. I mean,
Spike
Tyler
Lee,
Perry
which
just
is
got
like,
big honor too.
he's
the
a
other
legend.
day.
You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, when it's all said and
Yeah,
done, he's a
right.
legend.
You've been doing it out here for
Yeah.
quite some time.
Yes, sir.
And you know, you making a big splash in this area, and you know, I'm sure people want to hear from you on what they could do to get, you know, in your movies.
And you know what? Like, I'm thinking about, like, because we were just talking about, you mentioned Master P, and I got the hook up. But hold on, we'll get back to my question after this phone call. What's up?
You on with the man cave?
Hey, good afternoon. I have a question for Jordan Muhammed.
All right.
So, you casting for any upcoming films?
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Kalila.
Shouts out to Kalila for calling in, asking Arthur about the upcoming films. So, do you have any upcoming films that are coming out 2019, 2020, 2021? What are you working on right now? That's what they want to know.
we have two films actually that's in post-production, feature films: The Little Voice and The Start of Marriage.
Oh, yes, sir. We were talking about those earlier. Okay, thanks for calling.
Do you have the trailers
These two
available
out
for
there now.
those two?
We have.
Or can you show?
No,
Are you able to show the
I don't have them yet.
Okay,
They're
okay,
being
okay,
working
okay.
on. And
So-
I want to make sure we drop them. This on, cause a little
So the little voice is the newest film,
right.
and that's the film about. Go ahead. Why don't you explain it?
Actually, the film is about a guy who finds his conscience speaking through a little boy.
Right.
So,
Right.
he
Inside.
right. So,
We all have those.
right.
Yeah. And what about post production? What kind of work goes into post production? Like after you done got all the scenes, you did all the script writing, the actors done went home, the lights are turned off. Like what goes into post production to get the film ready to be viewed by the viewers?
Very good question. Number one, of course you got to edit the film.
Yeah.
You know, so but once you get your editing done, then you go in and do your sound design. Your sound design, your music, and your color kind of goes all at the same time.
Right.
Sometimes when your budget is small, and maybe your editor is doing all of those things.
Yeah.
Right,
But
right. I was
if-
gonna say that.
Yeah, if you do have a
Outsource
budget.
those separately.
Yeah, I do. Mhm.
Okay.
I usually cut all my films only because budget wise, I know it saves money, and I think I can edit, halfway decent enough. So
So when you picking, let's say, songs to go with particular scenes, do you already, like when you shooting a scene, like I want this song to go with this scene?
I usually have submissions of music after I'm done, and then
Okay.
and go through all the music to figure out,
With scenes.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's gonna
right.
fit with.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And if any filmmakers are listening, word to the wise, what you can start, what I have learned is production design goes a long way.
And explain to us about production design, please.
Production design is basically like where we at right now. Let's say we're
right.
doing a podcast.
Yeah.
If you can find a location that fits your design,
Right.
the scene, then that's the best thing you can do. But if you don't, and you have a cafeteria or whatever, and you're trying to make it look like a production, a podcast,
Not gonna be right.
unless you can make it look like this.
Exactly.
But if you get a good production designer, like, man, I think I've come up on Bonetta. She don't know if she listening,
Yeah.
but she actually did the production design on Starter Marriage. And really, she just wanted to get in. She went to Carter with me.
Okay.
But she was more of a interior decorator. But she really wanted to get into the film side of it. And so she's been sacrificing. She go get good locations and, that type of thing. And when you look at these movies, that's what separate these independent films really from the big ones is a lot of it is the production design.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just go shoot on a white wall. It's just boring to the eye.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, you're right about that. I think we had that discussion about the podcast before. But I was like, the more stuff on the walls is, the better.
Right.
The more stuff in the shot, the better. I don't care if it's a water bottle or liquor bottle. I mean, that's why Drink Champs. No, I'm serious. That's why Drink Champs do what they do.
Right.
I'm not sure if you guys ever watched The Breakfast Club, but behind Charlemagne, he has two dolls that
Right.
are viral because he positions them in different ways. Giving head sometimes. For real.
Right.
And they're right behind him on the thing.
Okay,
And
yeah.
believe it or not, those things trend. So Starter Marriage and The Little Voice. These are the newest films out, right?
Right.
What's Starter Marriage about?
The Starter Marriage is about a guy who come up with this idea to have a fake marriage for 1 year, get all the mistakes out the way so that the real marriage would be perfect.
You're gonna get a lot of brothers out here troubleshooting. a lot of girls gonna be like, yo, you getting this for fake or you just for
Hey,
real?
I'm ready to watch that already just because.
He
Wow.
probably give away some game and everything.
So he gonna have a
Over.
fake marriage.
And it's a business. So he actually finds a female that really want to have the perfect marriage afterwards, and they both decide to do it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
guess,
concept.
yeah, to get
man.
out
That's
all
a
the
good
flaws
concept.
in the
Right.
relationship.
Hey,
Yeah,
I like that concept.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
that's
So
pretty
when are these coming out?
Man, that's a good question.
Are you?
I don't know. No.
You've already finished the post production for those ones.
Yeah,
already?
the post production is just about done with both of them. The thing about it is, I did the Little Voice first,
Right.
But then after doing the Starter Marriage, it's a much more diverse cast. The concept, like everybody that hears it is like, oh yeah, I got to see that one. It's an easier sell.
Right.
And I have some of the same people in it. So my ideal now is let me put this one out first. Maybe it'll blow up and be big, and then bring up some of the cast members that's also in the Little Voice. That way, because one of the main issues you have with distribution, they always ask who's in it. They don't even ask you what the movie's about.
Right.
Like who's in it. So because it's a business.
Yeah.
But what I tell people, what I'm trying to educate the distributors on, and maybe this is going on the depth there, I don't know, but the word show comes before the word business.
Ooh.
You can't have a business without the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
right.
why you have a lot of these failures in films,
Absolutely
in my
right.
opinion, because you focusing on the business side, but you lacking the show. I think in the Starter Marriage and the Little Voice, the talent is awesome. Even when they see the films,
Yeah.
they say, who are these guys? I mean,
Yeah,
because they're really good, but they don't know them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to introduce you to these people.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think that was like, because I watched Master P's interview, I can't remember where it was at, and he was talking about some of the same issues that you're facing, like in terms of like the cast, that the people that he pulled, they're not really technically famous people. Some of them are off of social media. Like, do you think that working with cast members from social media, do you think that's something that you would be interested in, that you would try to pull?
No, I mean, typically when I cast, I mean, of course I'm going with the person with the best, the best role that fits the part the best.
Okay.
But I tell them sometimes I'm casting your spirit. I'm not casting you.
Right.
Because I need you to give up yourself to become this character.
Exactly.
Man.
So I don't. If a social media person or whatever they got that,
Yeah.
then cool. But
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you do honestly have to give up yourself to play a character or anything like that. So, getting back to before you were playing character, what position did you play?
receiver,
You was a receiver.
I play receiver.
yeah.
Carter,
So you was nice, huh?
Catch.
I could catch. I was kind of. Matter of fact, me and I ran a 4.37.
4.37. So you look like you still in shape.
Yeah.
Still take care of yourself. What kind of stuff you doing? Take care of yourself,
Well, I'm a
health-wise.
vegetarian, so
What? Really? Cool. Okay. I mean, any exercises, yoga?
I mean, I try to
like that
walk.
you-
I try to walk
Just walking vegetarian,
Right.
huh? So how did that transition go for you?
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Man, it was one Ramadan actually, and I didn't during the Ramadan maybe about 20 some years ago. I didn't eat meat during
Right.
that time, and so after that, I just never went back to eating meat.
Never went back.
Right.
That's pretty good.
So you eat fish?
I eat fish I just started back eating fish, but I do eat fish.
Yeah.
But about the past couple of years, I started back eating fish.
Man, I'd like to entertain the possibility. Well, I don't know.
I try to get him to fast a couple, like this past Ramadan is like, but I think like the more they see me do it, the more they will be more acceptable to doing it. Because I got a friend with me, Kason, he'll fast like 2 weeks. He's not Muslim, but he will fast 2 weeks with me during Ramadan.
A lot of people do it now, though.
Yeah.
Puff Daddy. A lot of people now during Ramadan they fast.
Yeah,
But I
they
told him I think I fast normally though.
Well, everybody fasts. Like we had this conversation before. Like everybody.
I
fasts.
don't eat after 9 and I don't eat again until like 11.
But that's like cheating. You sleeping halfway. You sleeping through your fast. So like being awake is like it's different. You
But
know?
ain't you sleeping through yours too?
I
during
do,
Ramadan?
but you're talking about being awake and consciously fasting, you know what I'm saying? So everyone fasts, you know what I mean? But it's like being consciously awake and fasting. So I want you to try that
You
one.
want me to be hungry on purpose?
It's fine.
And everybody do fast. That's actually why the word, which people don't understand, breakfast.
Break fast.
Break
You're
fast.
breaking your fast
Right.
Yeah.
from
So-
the night before. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yes,
wealth
okay,
of
try to
I'm a
get-
wealth of nonsensical information.
Now, Sammy, your film, quintessential movie, like, tell us about it a little bit. Like, how did that whole production and everything, where'd you get the idea for that film from? And
Well, it all started on Carter High set.
Okay.
Because Arthur speaks of giving game and knowledge. When I tell you, just being around this man, I'm gonna tell you when I realized he was real. I'm an extra. I'm not even casted, right? I'm just on set. But I'm one of them people that ain't gonna sit in one place. I'm gonna move around.
Yeah.
I seen these guys building all these heavy things. I'm gonna help them. So I'm like, man, I'm a pretty strong guy. I'm gonna grab something. Let me help y'all move this stuff.
Okay.
So we doing that. We set up. We in the school. Arthur shooting the hall set. And I don't know him. I just know he's the director. But, I'm just so into the filming. It was a scene where Lynn Andrews was doing some shooting with the Mr. Bates character. And I realized Arthur was cool. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. He filming. And I'm just gonna stand here until he tell me to move. And, who is this guy? Get away from here. Well, 3-4 hours later, I'm still standing there next to him.
Yeah.
That's when I realized this guy's real. Anybody else, you couldn't even be back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate you attending the event.
Because Arthur, my debut film, Quintessential, the first time Arthur's in the movie. No, it's not the first time. You got a couple of scenes.
Because he was a lawyer or a judge in the movie.
Yeah, he is the judge.
Right? Yeah.
And when I tell you, the funny part, y'all hear me. He's a director. He's a co-director, but when I tell you from an actor standpoint, he knows exactly what to say, what to do. He brought his character. You need to hire this man for an actor too, because he can pull it. Knew his lines, was early
No,
on
you
time.
don't. Do not hire me for an actor.
He He can do both.
Directors
He's the
get paid
best.
more. He like, forget that.
So you prefer to be behind the scenes?
Oh, for sure.
But it just seems like it's just like I'm just thinking about how you were saying like you got to have all these different place cards and everything. It just seems like your brain must be all over the place, just trying to pull everything together. So being a director,
is.
and then you also have to direct actors and the production staff. Like, you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, that can be pretty tough on you, huh?
It is. I
Yeah.
mean, it's very consuming, but I love it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
when you in the midst of it, it's like
It's not work.
it's not work.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know?
It's not work. It's not work. That's how I feel about this. You know, I come in here and I do this. A lot of people go, well, you like, shit, I like doing it, bro.
Right.
Like, if I missed it, I would probably feel bad about myself. You know what I'm saying? If I missed the Monday, I couldn't, I couldn't live with myself the next day. You know what I'm saying? So, wide receiver. Take me back to 1988. You're a junior. You're on Carter's football team. These are your friends. These are your family. These guys you blood, sweat, and tears with. It was summertime, correct?
When they got arrested, it was summertime.
Yeah, it was summertime when they got arrested. This goes down. They start locking people up. How does it affect you?
Man, it hurt. It's like, and
Right.
literally, bro, these was like my friends, and it was nobody believed it when it started happening. Even though during the process, we knew something was going on when they started, the gold chains, the Michael Jordan warm-ups, everybody dressed alike. It was like, whoa, but not that, and not to that degree. So when the judge says they robbed more places in 6 months than Bonnie and Clyde did in a lifetime, they did that. But it wasn't to that degree, but they did
Right.
do that. But the thing about it is they wasn't bad people. They just made some bad decisions and bad choices, and they treated them like they was adults.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And a lot of things that sometimes we talk here, a lot of times we talk about mentorship, you know what I mean, and accountability at the time. Do you think that those players were getting that, like, off the field in terms of, like, because I know that they wasn't bad people, but sometimes the media can portray our young African-American men as being vicious and villains and that thing, but were they getting, from your knowledge, were they getting any type of mentorship in terms of how to be successful leaders?
I put it like this. During the season, yes. So it's almost like when Malcolm was locked up, right? And when he got out, and Jordan Muhammed said, they was trying to put him right in, or they was telling Jordan Muhammed how good he was while he was locked up. He was like, well, we need to wait to see how he is when he get out, because right now he have that hedge around him.
Right.
Well, you got to be good.
Right.
Well, on that team, you better be good. You
Right.
can't. That's your hedge, like protecting you. But once the season is over with, that's when things like that can happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like once that hedge was removed, and then we went through so much,
Right.
in the
So, because-
playoffs, out the playoffs,
Yeah,
in the
because
playoffs.
during the season, it wasn't about the.
Right.
It was about the grades.
Right.
And
Right.
the grades being changed and the grades not being right. That's what it was about. And now I remember what that title was. It was called They Lost the Benefit of the Doubt. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
It was like the What Did Carter Lose was the name of it.
Right.
What did Carter lose? And what they ended up with was the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Because after the grades and everything, when that happened, the red Corvette and
Yeah.
all of that, they get pinched on that, and
And check this
all
out.
goes away.
A little story about this ESPN documentary, right? They actually reached. Carter came out first.
Yeah, that was tainted.
But they reached out to me, the director of that, so I actually invited him to like an initial screening of the movie. And also he came to the Carter picnic. We have an annual picnic, and that's when he met all the guys.
So he stole it.
But the thing about
Calling
it
you
is,
out, Slim.
the thing about it is, way before we did the movie, years before, we was trying to do a documentary on Carter through ESPN, 30 for 30. But they said they didn't do documentaries on high schools.
That's
Right.
crazy.
And
But
then
then
it's
they
funny,
ended up doing
after
it.
we
Yeah.
did the movie, then they came back and did a documentary on the high school, which for me, that's great, because it just get the story out, because
Yeah.
ultimately, I think the guys should be celebrated because it's
Yeah.
not what they went through, but they made it through it.
And how they played.
Right.
Yeah,
And they're successful now. You know,
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah.
doing good. Nobody went back. You know, they're still alive.
Right, right.
You know, citizens, good citizens. So that's
That'll be dope. We can talk to those brothers too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, Jesse Armstead, I mean, he went on, played in the NFL.
Right.
Well, there was a couple other ones, right?
Leash, he went and played.
Leash played.
Yeah.
You know,
people.
and yeah, I mean, look, I think it was a great story. I mean, I like the movie you did more
Thank you.
than the, you know, I like the way you got in depth with the characters,
Yep.
the parents. Vivica Fox, great. How was it working with her?
Cool as a fan.
He got a crush on us, really. What he's
Hey.
he low key asking.
I wouldn't blame you, but yeah, that's I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. She did a great job in the movie.
And that's another thing. Once we got Charles Dutton, it was easier to get Vivica
Yeah.
Fox,
Yeah. Right.
David Banner,
Right.
Pooch Hall. I mean,
So once you shoot a film like that, like and you got these major actors out of Hollywood, is it easier to go back and shoot another film and grab other actors like that?
yeah, it is.
The initial process, was it difficult or?
Yes, it is because you number one, they got to read your material.
Right.
Because a lot of times they have these agents that it never gets to them. And so that happened with Charles Dutton. And he actually called me. We had been trying to get in contact with him. We had sent him the script and we had talked to his agent once and never heard anything back. I get a call about the movie. We had somebody else to talk to him, and I got a call about the movie. He asked me about, was this story real? No, first he almost chastised me.
Yeah.
Brother, like you said,
Right.
like this was rock.
Bro, it was a rock. It was,
He said, brother, why you want to do a movie like this and portray these young black men like this, And I said, this happened for real. This is like,
Yeah.
right.
He said, no, not this, I never heard this story before, this and that, blah, blah, blah. He said, okay, I'm going to call you back. Click, just like that.
Yeah.
Day or two later, he called back.
Dang.
He said he's been up Googling, seeing all this stuff and saw that it was
Yeah.
a real, true story. And he wanted to be a part of it.
That's what's up, man.
yeah,
Shouts
yeah.
to Charles S. Dutton for that, man. Wonderful black man for our community, stand-up gentleman, and he did a great job in this movie.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
real talk. I give him that all day. So I wanted to ask you this, and I'm not sure if you want to answer it or not, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So when you go out to do a movie like this, like Carter, you got Charles S. Dutton, you got Vivica Fox, David Banner, Pooch Hall, numerous other people. Where does the money come from to pay these people? Or do they wait till after the movie is just, you get to pay them. People want their money right away. So where does the money come to pay these people?
And that's shout out to Greg Ellis. He was the
Okay.
executive producer of the film. And
Okay.
he actually paid them,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Now, I was just wondering on how that whole
Oh
thing
no,
works.
they getting paid. They ain't waiting.
Right, they ain't waiting for shit. Right.
They getting paid.
So that's how it works. So basically you foot the bill,
Right.
do the whole movie, pay the actors, all of that.
But they still, some if they really want to do the movie, they
They get
will.
residuals.
Right, they get residuals, or they will take
Royalties.
a pay cut, or you give them producers credit.
Right.
So sometimes if they really want to do a project like Halle Berry did in Monster Ball, she only got paid $10,000, but she was, got residuals. But Halle Berry got an Oscar.
Yeah.
So you have them if they really want to do a project and they believe in it, they will take it on, because one thing you got to realize is regardless of how big they are all waiting by the phone
Right.
for their next job for the most part. I mean, so
So how did you hold on one second, Chef? How did you get hooked up with Marquise Houston for that movie?
well actually
How did that all happen?
my distributor Rob Johnson, he actually distributed that film and produced it, and he distributed Carter High. So once he actually got wind of that, he wanted me to be second unit. I was a second unit director on that film.
Okay.
So they flew me to LA, and that's how I got on that one.
Being second unit director, can you explain that a little bit?
Second unit director, which is we don't have the luxury of on a lot of these small projects,
Yeah.
is getting the B-roll shots. So for example, Shakri, he's about to drink this water. We may have a shot right here, but we may have wanted a close-up on his hand when he did the water. If you have a second unit director,
I just totally envisioned that in my head. Yeah, but go ahead.
but a second unit would do that. Like, so for example, what I did until Death Do Us Part, after they shot the scene, I had Tay Diggs come back out, and he was watering the grass. So I got close-ups, on the water coming out, him picking up lemons off the grass, that type of thing.
Okay.
So that was my job to get all the.
So like it might be somebody walking down
inserts.
the hallway, you might get the footsteps walking
Right.
down the hall. Oh, that's pretty dope.
If you've seen a movie like when the guy's playing the piano, the tight close-ups on his hands when he's playing the piano, that type of thing. Just making sure.
I kind of like me. I put you in the likes of Spike Lee, Tyler Perry, John Cena.
Man, I just said Tyler Perry earlier.
Yeah.
You got mad.
Well, no,
you ain't gonna use Tyler Perry now. Hell no.
I'm just saying, like, I put
Hell
you in,
no.
in that group, and even I can say Master P. You know what I mean?
It's still Robert Townsend too.
And Robert Townsend, I put you in the likes of them. To me, they're legendary. But how has I think John Singleton, I think he came into Dallas like about 3 years ago. He had shot was it Snow?
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to the
Rest in
premiere of
peace,
Snow.
John Singleton.
Like how has him as a professional and his life and death, like has that influenced you or anything like that? You might have to go, or have you ever met John Singleton?
I never met him.
Okay.
I never got to meet John Singleton, but
Okay.
of course his work, and afterwards listening to John Singleton even more, that man was a genius.
Right.
I mean, and very, very educated. He turned me on even to like old classic films like The Network, and I started reading about that because of him.
Okay.
And so he was a student, man, of the craft. I mean, so
Yeah.
definitely.
So what's next for Mr. Jordan Muhammed? What's next for you, man?
Do we have any TV series? Any
What's coming up for Sweet Chariot?
Well, of course, we got these 2 films that we're trying to, get out. But also, I'm shooting a film. I even hate to say this name, Entice, but I'm gonna say it. It's called Gutter Mommies.
Gutter Mommies.
Right. It's one of those films, but it's actually for distribution companies. So we're not doing it for nothing. But
Right. Hey, look, I ain't mad at y'all. Hey, look, people watched. What was that movie with that damn stupid ass movie with Dave Chappelle and
Which one, How High?
Dumb and Dumber? Like, it wasn't How High. That's Red Man and Method Man.
No, Half Baked.
Half Baked.
Yeah,
that
that's
movie.
actually a cult classic. What do you mean?
That
That's
joint is
like,
dumb.
I love that movie. I
but
love
one
that
thing
movie.
about
I don't
Gutter-
like slapstick. So.
I love
and it's
that
not
movie.
slap. Gutter Mommy is actually, even though the title is what it is, that's
Yeah.
because of the distribution company. But it's actually, she's a very great writer, and it does have a silver lining in it. So it's a good story.
Right. Okay. Well, you're a great writer, man. This was a damn good job you did on Carter.
Thank you.
And First Impressions, I'm gonna make sure I watch that this week because you said one of those guys. He from DC, right?
Yeah, Lamont Rucker.
I gotta represent. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Like one thing that I can say that I admire about you is you have no problem with giving away the game. And I know, shout out to Shutter Speed Film Festival, you did a director's workshop. What can you say? What can you say to the people that are listening out there? Maybe there's some future directors out there, future producers out there. What can you say to inspire them to kind of go forward? Maybe you can just give like a quick 1, 2, 3, 4 pointer about the director's workshop.
Well, keep pushing.
Yeah.
That's really quick story. The guy who actually wrote, Regis Brown, who wrote First Impression, he took Carter High to LA and it actually placed in his film festival. And just the screenplay. And he got the opportunity to meet Spike Lee on the elevator. So he told me the story and I said, wow, that is deep. But in the game, you realize what Spike Lee, because Spike Lee can be a standoffish type brother. But he said he give him his life story, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to do this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. He said the elevator opened and Spike Lee said, brother, keep pushing. And I was like, keep pushing. But if you think about it, shout out to every woman that ever had a child. when you giving birth to anything, once it get time to deliver, you got to keep pushing.
Keep
Right
pushing,
about
keep
that.
pushing.
Right
You
about
gotta
that.
be patient.
I mean, just like, I'm sure people come up to you all the time looking for spots. I mean, just like the little voice, and, my voice would be perfect for the little voice in
Yeah,
somebody's
you gonna sound
head.
like the old drunk granddad in the
Hey,
rocking chair.
look, this that joint
Smoking a
that'll,
big old cigar.
hey, this that joint that'll wake you up in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, I'm telling you, I'm about to start doing some voiceover work.
We're probably so, man. You know what I'm saying? Keep
I'm
pushing.
telling
Man.
you.
Keep pushing.
Purified water by
Yeah.
Maker's Mark.
It's pretty good. So, is there any tidbits that you would like to give our listeners out there, like in terms of acting, getting inside of the production, post production? Where can they find out where your work is listed? Because I know you're online, right? Social media, so they can find you on social media. Do you want to give yourself a little plug?
Well, social media is Arthur Jordan Muhammed on Facebook, A Muhammad Film on Instagram, so you can follow me there. I try to follow people back for the most part. So
Yeah.
unless I see some foolishness, then I will unfollow you.
Yeah.
Also, Sweet Chariot Productions. Also, you can follow that.
Right, and AM Film Studios.
Or
as well.
AM Film Studios. That's the new. Is that what you're transitioning to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
All
Cool.
right,
You want to tell us a little bit about it? What are y'all adding?
Well, actually, Josie, who actually produced, Josie Wells, who actually produced, he executive produced Started Marriage. We kind of like, we looking at doing some more films and stuff together. So,
Have you ever met RLP, Real Life Productions? Out here, you should follow them on social media. I'm gonna have to link you up with them.
Okay.
They pretty good people. They doing films and stuff like that on their own. So maybe it'll be they big in Dallas.
oh,
So
cool.
they
Yeah,
do.
real life street star.
See,
You know who they are?
yeah, y'all be tripping. Yo, these dudes is big. Like and they don't be giving it the proper. I be talking
My
about.
bad.
Look that up. You want to do that.
You want to do that? Trust me. Tell them. See,
Real life street stars. They represent.
Did we meet with those guys?
Parts of Dallas.
We met
like
with
the
them, right?
streets.
Oh,
Okay.
respect.
And it's big.
They
It's
came
a
and did
big
the show.
platform.
Yeah. I wasn't here today. Yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed them, and they're good friends of mine because I play music and stuff like that. So I definitely want to put you in touch because they do a lot of film work and production and stuff like that. It'd be good for you guys to all be in touch. So, all right, going back into this, I never got to really get into first impression. I know it's a Love Jones thing, right?
Well,
Phil. Yeah, no,
It's actually-
it's like a feel good type.
I just want to know.
What's the name of the movie? With the white couple with the computer. One of the first type of.
You got Mel.
You Got Mail.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Oh,
that.
okay.
So it's like a blind dating, computer dating type.
Netflix and chill type of.
Right.
Oh,
right,
okay.
right. That's
okay.
kind of like what it
And
is.
you
So-
said that was computer love.
It's
turned
so
into-
well. See
right.
what? Because we was trying to just get the movie distributed at some point, and so we was throwing around the title and end up coming out First Impression. But First Impression and Computer Love is the same thing.
Right. Okay. I did my digging, so my digging took me to some old. You know what I'm saying? I got all sorts of info with this joint, man. Well, I mean, look, I definitely appreciate you coming out here doing
Thank
the
you.
interview.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been excited to get you in here all week. You know what I'm
Appreciate
saying?
it.
He's been talking about it. We've been excited. Sammy,
Thank you.
we
for having
appreciate you for coming to the event, brother.
Yeah.
Put the Sunday's best on and drove out this joint. Once
shout
again-
out to the Man Cave. Let
Thank
me
you.
give one shout out. 'cause
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
fuss that if
Give
I
it
do
to
that. Shout out to Queen Linus Tulane, Josephus Sanders. Shout out to the General, Arthur Muhammad.
Yeah.
The Man Cave, DFW. Thank y'all for having me.
And
Yes,
make sure
sir.
y'all follow Shutter Speed Film Festival because I know for a fact you came last year. Hopefully, inshallah, we get to see you again next year doing those directors workshops out there. So I think that's a good way for you to ask your questions directly to someone who has experience, knowledge, and wisdom, and willing to give it to you without the cost of a college education. Right?
Right.
You got anything over there, Kenny?
I know one thing, bro. Congratulations! I saw #1 podcast or something? Did you post that?
His mom gave him that
Oh,
award.
okay.
I was joking.
His mom gave him that.
I was joking. I was joking that everybody took it seriously.
Yeah, his mom-
Everybody on that job like, congrats.
Yeah. His
I
mom
said, oh my God, we just got voted the #1 podcast in the
He
DFW.
don't realize how
I want
strong
to
his voice
thank.
is.
I want to say thank you
He
to
told me
the committee
I showed up for them.
Yeah.
that gave us this honor. Thanks, Mom.
I guess you are a good actor then, brother. You fooled me on that.
Man, everybody. Hey, look, I told my boy halfway down the thread, I said, man, I'm just going to go with it, man.
Yeah.
You know, no one listens. I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, but we are the #1. Look, we speaking that new existence.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, we are the #1 podcast in the DFW, bar none. Don't ask nobody.
On the
Right
#1
here.
network.
That's right, KMWI Media. Where is that? KMWI Media. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to The Man Cave, DA Man Cave, on YouTube. You can take a look at all our content. We got great things coming. We have great things that we've already done. You guys make sure you stay locked in. Also, you can cash app us at # The Man Cave. We're always taking donations. This stuff is not free. We're also looking for any kind of sponsors or anyone out there who's looking to sponsor. We hope that you will get with us. Once again, thank you so much to Mr. Arthur Jordan Muhammed for coming out here.
Yes.
Thank you for the movies. Thank you for blessing Dallas with a name, giving us a reason to know that we can also do it as well. Suge, you got anything you want to say?
For sure, man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you guys coming out. You know?
We're going to pump up the
with the
music a
tie.
little bit.
With the tie. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. Thanks for coming out, Sammy. Hey, seriously, to all you guys out there,
Yeah.
check out all the content we got on YouTube, guys. Also, you can follow KMWImedia.com. You can follow them there, or you can also follow them at Vimeo under Kenny Woodfolk. And you'll get all of the great shows we have. There's over 30 shows at this network. None as good as mine, but you can go and check all of those out. Just make sure you check out the Man Cave first. Thank you so much. See you guys next Sunday.